What is going on YouTube and Spotify? This is the Just BSN podcast, and today I have, as always, my boy Andrew, who's got a new background. If you're seeing this on the YouTube, uh, he said a little bit last week, I think, that he was moving, so he's finally moved in. Andrew, how you feeling? You know, there's been a pretty good week of Cleveland sports overall. Some weird stuff going on, but we'll get into that. But yeah, how you feeling?
Feels good, man. It feels good to be in a whole new setting and a new setup. Um, no more just the two windows over here, and
No
that's the
more
only two windows.
cats.
No more cats. I'm in a little office space right now. Like
Yep.
you see, I still got a couple little boxes behind me that I gotta get rid of and whatnot. But
Yeah.
it's all coming together. Got to decorate a little bit in here and maybe
Mm-hmm.
get some better background stuff in here. But dude, feels good to be in a brand new apartment with a great view of the city and I'm living life now.
Hell yeah, man. Yeah, that's awesome. I am probably going to be on the verge of getting out of this space sooner than I may think. We'll see how that goes. But yeah, you guys could see a new backdrop for me here soon as well. So everybody out here is making some moves, and my God, we got some stuff to discuss. I'm not really going to get into the Brown stuff yet. We want to start with guards. Guards obviously swept the Cubs this weekend. Pretty light work, to be honest with you. It was a pretty easy series. They didn't really struggle. Uh, Everybody seemed to play well. A few guys really stepped up. But overall, it was just a solid series. And again, the guards remain near or at the top of the not only AL but the league in general. So what were your thoughts just on the easy sweep? I mean, I know you were at the game, so you got to see everything. You know, what are you starting to like about the guards and sort of how they're getting back into motion here?
Well, like you said, it almost seemed a little too easy of a sweep. Um, Obviously the Guardians, who, as we talked last week, were on a 7 game losing streak, and now they're on a 5 game heater and 2 games away from literally taking away that losing streak and making it non-existent. Like we'd even lose all those games. Back into the top of the league. I think we're a half a game ahead of everyone in the league. So once again, and I think as we're speaking now, the Yankees are playing and the Phillies are also playing, and I think both are winning right now too. So they'll obviously be tied with us for the top of the league. But as the games go for the Cubs and the Guardians, I mean, you what changed during the 7 game losing streak was the hitting.
Yeah.
You saw the bats actually becoming alive. You saw more of the clutch hitting again. You seen the guys actually get back to being comfortable and not swinging at a lot of junk.
Yeah.
Obviously, during the 7 game series that we witnessed, the 7 game losing streak, a lot of guys were just swinging at balls in the dirt, balls way outside. Like you saw like a lack of confidence in the team. Like they just didn't care to be there, and now something must have changed. And I want to say too, I think it started off with Steven Vogt a few games ago. I think when it started that streak where he got ejected,
Yeah.
and that in the final game where we lost in the losing streak, and I think that kind of lit a fire in everyone's ass. It's like, okay, this manager is with us. Like he's
Yeah.
now gonna come out and defend us, and I think that's when everything started to change. It said, hey, listen, this guy backs us. This guy is backing us now, and he's starting to fight for us now, and so we got to fight for him. And now the bats started to come alive, and now you're on a 5 game heater, and the boys look good, especially the pitching staff. The
Yeah.
two new boys, they look good. I know Alex Cobb had a tough first game against Minnesota,
Came
but
back, had a
again,
great game this weekend.
yeah, absolutely came back again this weekend. Basically went 6 innings and threw 3 strikeouts. Only gave up 1 earned run and pitched phenomenal. So and same with Matthew Boyd in his first appearance back, six strikeouts, 1 earned run, and I don't even think he even deserved to give up that earned run because it was a 1 out. Guys stole third, and then it was just a sac fly. And if that guy didn't steal and the sac fly didn't happen, the Guardians win that game 2-0.
Mm-hmm.
And Matthew Boyd goes 5, 6 perfect innings
Mm-hmm.
and strikes out 6. So it's just absolutely perfect. Things are starting to come into unison now, and we hope this trend continues as we go into Milwaukee over the weekend.
Oh yeah, and I said a weekend for some reason, but it's tomorrow's Friday, so this is not
Yeah.
a weekend. But you guys get at the point. Yeah, different guys again starting to come alive again. You know, you're seeing guys like Fry, uh, Jimenez, Ramirez, Naylor, both of the Nailers. You're seeing, especially right now, my boy John Kenzie Noel has been on a home run tear right now. Quan has been
Yeah.
hitting some home runs, but Noel's hitting the shit out of the ball, and he's hitting with it with purpose and power. And you know, I've talked a little bit before about just his swing and how beautiful it is. Like when that dude can make contact, it's usually leaving the ballpark.
Hmm.
That dude just has so much power in his swing. He loads everything up in the back, and dude, when he unleashes, he gets a 430-foot bomb like he did the other night. And mixing that in with guys like Jimenez, who are really hitting the bat well right now, not even really hitting for power, but he's getting on base. He's
Hmm.
putting himself in a position to either grab, our RBIs or be a run scored in later on, and it's beautiful, and it's exactly what we need. And you mix that with guys like Cobb and guys like Boyd who are stepping up, starting to step in now, and giving us innings. You if you give this team 5 or 6 innings as a starter, the bullpen has the rest. Like
Yeah.
that's all you have to do. Now, would I like our starting guys to get like at least 6 or even 7? I haven't seen that all damn year, and I really don't see that at all within the league anymore as is. But that used to be so common growing up for us, is seeing guys go 7 innings strong, 9 Ks, 1 or 2
Yeah.
walks, but just killing it. And you're not really seeing that with this team, but we don't need to, because uh, you get a lead in this bullpen's very difficult to hit on, and you get a lead within the ninth inning. Good luck hitting against Class A. That dude is
Yeah.
literally on the verge of winning a Cy Young as a reliever, and that just goes to show you just how talented the kid is.
Yeah, and to bounce off of that, I think at least for Boyd and Cobb, they only went 5 1/3 because they went 5 innings and then they came on in the sixth, and I think they just threw against one batter.
Yeah.
Um, they both finished with exactly 80 pitches in those games, so I'm assuming since they just came back from injuries,
Mhm.
I would obviously assume that they're on some kind of pitch count until they can show that they can throw at least 90 to 100 pitches. So I think it was just a pitch count reason why they got
Yeah.
taken out so early. But again, they still went 5 strong innings, and that's all you need from them is to go 5 big strong innings. Let the bullpen do the rest. Now, I think those guys would have gone 6 strong innings if they had the opportunity. But again, I think they were on like an 80 pitch count limit,
Yeah.
so they didn't get re-injured or re-aggravate or whatever, and have to get sent back down to the minors to rehab more. So I think that was just the case of a pitch count because again, it feels like a Gavin Williams or a Tanner Bybee. They're probably going 6, maybe 7 innings in that regard. But no, like you said, the guys are starting to hit the ball well. Noel, 3 home runs and 7 at bats. I mean, it's not even just him hitting for power at this point. He's just hitting the ball. Period.
Yeah.
Whether it's getting a double here and there, or getting a single, or just getting on base. Period. He's just hitting the ball well. And same with Andres Jimenez. He's not hitting for power, but he's just hitting the ball, just getting on base, getting a single or a double. I think he snuck in a triple in the series somewhere. But he's just hitting the ball well, and that's what you needed from Jimenez in the last like month was just
Yeah.
for him just to get on base and just hit the ball, and he's finally starting to get into that groove and get into that role, and for him, it's definitely a big boost because you can start seeing how it's affecting his defensive play. He's making even better plays at defense, and it's just outgrowing his confidence. And I think what we're also seeing too is we're seeing the old Guardians ball again.
Yeah.
We're getting back to that small ball that we started the season with, where bloop singles are happening. We're
Yeah.
just putting the bat on the ball and just putting it in play.
Just
And
wearing
did you?
guys out, man.
Yeah.
Wear their guys out.
Well, a lot of the hit. If you saw a couple of the hits during the Cubs series, they smoked the ball right at the third baseman and right at the shortstop, and they misplayed the ball.
Yeah.
And that's what you always wanted, just them misplacing the ball. Just get the ball in play, put the bat on the ball, just put it in play. The defense made mistakes, just run it out. And the one thing I do love seeing, and I know we talked poorly about Rocchio and even for a while maybe Jimenez here and there, but the one thing I am liking is just the out of the nowhere bunts that they've been doing,
Yeah.
where if they're not hitting the ball, cool. They're not gonna expect this, but everyone in the infield's pushed back, so they just bunt it down the line, and they just beat out the throw because there is no throw because Rocchio and Jimenez are so fast. Now all they have to do is just make a simple bunt, and
Yeah.
it's. I think that's why Rocchio stays because even if you if he's not hitting the ball well at all, he's good for a bunt down the line and getting on base. And we saw that a couple of times again in this series. We saw that in the first game where there was a sack bunt by Rocchio where he just quickly bunted down the line. He beat out the throw to first, and the throw to home was misthrown
Yeah.
by the pitcher, and it scored a run.
Yeah.
Actually, that was the Boyd Star, so that was the 2-1 game we won, and that scored the tying run to make it
Yeah.
1-1. So it's those plays, those little sacrifices, those little. It's not too big. I mean, it's big brain, but it's not too like. Well, there's one out, 2 outs, and I just need to get it. If I want to score a run, I have to get a single. Fuck it, I'm just gonna sack bunt it, make the pitcher make a play, whether it's throwing me out at first or if it's going home and seeing if you can get the guy out at home. And neither happened, and you take that gamble, and that's the one thing I'm liking about this Guardians team now is they're taking those little gambles here and there every
Hmm.
so often, and it's paying off.
It is, and it's about that time to start doing that.
Mm-hmm.
We're getting down to towards the end of this season. We have half of this month, September, and then you got October, and it's October is what it is
Playoff
for
time,
a
yeah.
reason. It's playoff time, baby, and this is when you want your team to start really hitting that final stride.
Yeah.
Not really overdoing it, but again, just going out there, winning your games, keeping your leads, and keeping guys healthy. And I think Vogt has done the best job that he possibly can as a first year manager. I mean, I
Mm-hmm.
know some people out there will criticize the way that he will use our guys in the bullpen. You might not like who he uses in his lineup every day, and it's not going to be perfect, but the guy is doing his job and he's doing a phenomenal job. And there's a reason that this team believes in themselves so much. And I think part of it just has to do with what he brings in that freaking
Mm-hmm.
locker room. And it's just been wonders. But I do want to bring up some crazy Emmanuel Clase comparisons. So I saw something, him getting compared to Rivera within their first
Mm-hmm.
4 seasons. So Rivera, his stats were 160 saves with a 2.14 ERA, 277 innings, and about almost 7 strikeouts per 9 innings. Clase has 146 saves, a 1.70 ERA, and 270 innings, and he averages almost 9 strikeouts per 9 innings because he strikes out the side a lot with that nasty cutter, with that nasty, fastball. This kid is quite literally unhittable at times, and again, when you have a lead going into the ninth inning, it doesn't matter if it's a 6-1 lead or a 2-1 lead. If you have that lead, Class A's got you. And that's all you need. There's a reason why they have not lost a single game after having a lead in the ninth inning. And it's because of guys like that. And, it's again, it's beautiful to see. I mean, you're even seeing Quan getting back into the field of things. He's gone to a little bit of a slump. Nothing major, but he seems to be hitting for a little more power as a recent than I would say just getting on base and being what sort of uh, Jimenez is doing right now. They've kind of switched sides here. But even Naylor, dude, Josh Naylor is getting doubles and singles all day long. He's not really hitting for power, but he's killing it at the plate still. And man, again, if you mix the way that this team can hit and then being able to evolve this starting lineup with guys like Boyd and guys like Cobb who can give you good innings, and then you add that with Bybee, and you add that with Gavin, those are 4 guys that you can take into the playoffs, and then you
Yeah.
can survive those fifth days with some random guys. And there's still room to grow, and I know we're not necessarily satisfied with the way that everything is going, but when these guys are all healthy, this is honestly it's a good enough lineup to get us through, especially when we're hitting the ball the way we are. And I don't even think we were necessarily hitting the ball bad. We just weren't putting runs up
Yeah.
during that losing streak. And I know you said that last week, in like last week's episode as well, about they're not necessarily hitting the ball bad. They're just not really scoring runs, and there's not really help for them on the defensive side of the ball. Whether it be
Hmm.
our guys in the starting lineup, our bullpen even was starting to struggle. And again, when you're able to stretch our starting lineup a little bit further in, like into these games, you don't have to use these guys for more than a third or 2/3 of an inning each. You don't have to have them throw 40 pitches. You can have them throw 15 to 20, and that's just way less wear and tear on their arms. And you can't do it every game, and that's why I know people get mad when you see certain guys come out in the bullpen, but it's better to keep your fresh arms, like your good arms, in later on in the year because, dude, we're going to need them in the playoffs because they're going to get used every single time, you know, and that's all we care about. And I don't really care if we have the best overall, record in the entire MLB. I don't even necessarily care if we have the best, one in the AL. I really just care about our division. But if we have the first seed in the AL, that's awesome because then we avoid wild card and we avoid all of that crap, and that's what we want. And
Hmm.
so I think in the back of their minds they know they have to lock in and be like, listen, if we really want this, we can. But if they're not worried about that and they're like, fuck it, let's just get at least home field advantage for us and just play the way that we play, we know that we can beat anybody. And yeah, different teams are starting to struggle as well. Like, baseball's fun, man. This is why baseball is so interesting, especially at this time of the year, because you're going to get teams that are starting to close the gap, and then you're also going to see teams who have been leading the whole way start to crumble because they've been doing it for so long. Eventually, their slump's going to happen. I would rather have our slump happen in July or early August than at the end of September when we are getting ready for playoff time. You want your confidence. You want these guys to feel good going into those series, and that's really all that matters. And I think baseball is all about momentum. That's the reason why we almost did it in 2016. Um, it was because we were just the hottest team in the AL at that time. It wasn't because we were the best. It was because we were hot. We were hitting the ball well. Our pitching staff was incredible between Andrew Miller and Kluber and even Bauer before he got hurt and started being a weirdo. Even Tomlin played great for us as well. Like, different guys stepped up, and that's kind of what this team reminds me of. But I just think we have a better overall roster. We have better hitters. I don't necessarily know if we have better starters in the starting lineup, but I'll tell you what, this bull bullpen, it's a lot more than just uh, Andrew Miller right now for us. It's
Yeah.
when we had that run, it was basically Miller, and it was whoever the hell our closer was at the time. I totally forget, but he wasn't even that great. He wasn't fucking Class A. I know that much. Um, so we just have the difference. We have the Chapman that the Cubs had when they beat us. We just have that dominant guy. And it's important to have.
Yeah.
So Guardians just got to keep rolling. They don't have to go on these super long win streaks. Stay healthy, stay fresh, continue to just play well, and you're gonna win games. And I actually would like to pull up the rest of their schedule.
I actually have the rest of their schedule up.
Do you? Okay.
Yeah.
So I mean, obviously we have the Brewers.
And then we go to New
Yankees is going to
York.
be a
Yeah.
good series, and then after that it's Rangers, Royals again, Pirates, Royals again, Dodgers, White Sox, Rays, Twins, Cardinals, Reds, and then Astros. So I mean, we still have a couple really good series ahead of us. The Yankee series, that's going to be pretty telling.
Yeah.
Getting our chance to kind of close out the Royals will be fun. I'm curious to see how the Dodgers 3 game series will go. I don't think they're really going to put too much into it because it's not an AL team. But
Hmm.
obviously the White Sox, you want to beat them. They suck. You have to beat them.
Yeah.
And then we start, or we don't start our series against the Rays on my birthday, but during that series is my birthday, September 13th. And then Twins, you got to beat Twins. Cardinals, really, I mean, after the Twins, you really don't need to win a whole really, it's
No.
just going for if you want the best, record in the entire AL. or not. Like that's really all that's going to depend on, to be honest
Well,
with you.
after the Twins, you got two NL opponents. You got the
Hmm.
Reds and the Cards, and then you finish off with Houston. But going back to the point where, like you said, you don't need to win a whole lot.
Hmm.
The top two teams in the American League get a first round bye into the ALDS. So as long as you're number one or number two, you get an automatic bid
Yeah.
to the ALDS. And now depending on who you would play that matters.
Right.
I think as it stands now, we would play the winner of the Twins and Baltimore, which honestly we've played very well against Baltimore and Minnesota all season long.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
I'd rather have that than play either the Royals or the Astros
Hmm.
because that's who the Yankees would play as the
Yeah.
second best team in the American League right now. They play either the Astros or the Royals, and I think both of those teams can take down the Yankees because the Yankees have been slumping a little bit. Now they did win. So they're a half a game back of us for the best record in the league right now
Hmm.
because we have one less loss than they do. We are on 49, they're on 50. So,
Okay. Yeah.
but we're both on 72 wins. So we're a half a game ahead in the entire league essentially. But again, you started off the series tomorrow against Milwaukee. You face a familiar opponent. You face Aaron Savali
Yeah.
tomorrow, so you face someone who you actually know, and he's not been pitching well at all this season.
Yeah.
And he's going up against Gavin Williams, who's been popping off in the last couple of games. It's been doing really well. So,
Just need to give him run support, really.
and
Like Gavin has not been getting a lot of
well,
run support.
the bad news is for the Brewers is that Christian Yelich today ended up with a season-ending injury.
Oh
So
yeah.
Christian Yelich, their best player, is now out for the season for the rest of the year. So that's a brutal hit from Milwaukee,
Yeah.
and
That's
he was
rough.
he was a big reason why Milwaukee is where they are now. So without Christian Yelich, you can start, especially starting in this Guardian series. I guess a Guardian seems that is hot right now.
Yeah.
This is not going to spell good news for the Milwaukee Brewers because you play against the Guardians' best pitching staff because you go up against Gavin Williams, Tanner Bybee, and then Ben Lively
Yeah.
for 3 games, and that's not the guys you want to face right now. So I think for again, just like you said, for a team like Cleveland right now, it's not about how many games you can streak and win in a row.
Right.
It's just win 2 out of 3 or do your best to win 3 out of 4. Now, when you have the 4 game series against the Royals, of course I want to sweep the Royals
Yeah.
or I want to win the series 3-1. But again, in those 4 game series, I'm okay with what you did in the last 4 game series you played, which was against Minnesota, and I'm okay with splitting 2-2
Yeah.
because splitting a series means like, hey, they didn't beat you, you didn't beat us,
Right.
so
Like nobody really closed the gap, and like
yeah,
especially in our division, you really don't want anybody to start to close in more because then you start adding
yeah,
just unwanted pressure you don't need, and it's like
hmm
either way, the Guardians are going to make the playoffs unless we have like a dramatic fallout, which I
hmm
really don't foresee, but you never know.
yeah, no,
I'm going to knock on wood because I don't want that.
I don't either.
But you know, there's going to be some tough guys to face still. But again, the Guardians are just they do enough to stay alive, and even when they
Hmm.
struggled, they still remained one of the best teams in the MLB record wise.
Which
And
nobody thought of at the
no,
beginning of the year at all.
no, and I don't even think the Guardian staff thought that this was going to be what
Well,
it was. I mean, I
l-
know we didn't, but we knew
no,
it was at least going to be better than last year,
and
but not like this.
look at what other pundits had us at the start of the year. All the pundits for MLB Network and just the MLB, ESPN, the entire Major League Baseball said the Guardians were going to finish basically second to last. Were in the Central because they thought it was going to be the Twins and the Royals and Detroit as the top 3 teams, and that Cleveland and Chicago would be the bottom feeders. And Cleveland said, "Yeah, hold my beer, because we're about to just go crazy."
Right.
And right now we're a month and a half away from the postseason, and the Guardians are the best team in fucking baseball by as of today a half a game. and they just moved up to 4.5 because Minnesota lost today too. So the Guardians now are 4.5 games ahead, and they're starting to grow that divisional lead back again. Because we were after the Minnesota series, it was, or at least after the second loss in Minnesota, before we won the last two against them,
Mhm.
they were a half a game, a game behind us, and now
Yeah.
we're creeping that back up. We're 4.5 ahead now, and if we continue to win and they continue to drop series, that lead's going to grow back and back, and we're going to be back up to 8, 9 games like we were before All Star
Yeah.
break. So
And
that's what you need.
right, and I think now, especially now that we have more of like a consistent lineup that we're
Mm.
going to be putting out in terms of the guys on the mound, like that's going to help us. I think that was part of the problem, was just there was a lot of juggling around. There was a lot of roster moves that needed to be made in order
Yeah.
to make everything happen, and I just really think that that played a part or a factor into all of this. But now that everything seems to be calming down, you don't really need to do a whole lot. Although I would still
Mm.
love to see Manzardo up. He literally just hit a 3-run bomb today in True AAA again. So the kid keeps just just going yard.
I don't know if you
Uh,
saw. I don't know if you saw on Twitter, but everyone has been worried today because the Columbus Clippers put out the lineup for today, and Gabriel Arias was on the lineup.
oh
And
my
then they
gosh.
adjusted the lineup a half hour later, and Arias was off of the lineup.
Oh god.
And I was like, "Oh, please, dear God, don't let this be like Rokio's going down to AAA and they're bringing up Gabriel
Right.
Arias." And it's like, I would, I will jump off out of my building. Like I will, like if you bring back Gabriel Arias instead of Kyle Manzardo, I will
Mhm.
scream.
Yeah.
Like
And no.
we do not want Arias back. He has not been good. Yet he's a AAA player at best, and that's as
Right.
good as he's going to be. He's not going to bring that up to Cleveland. Stop bringing his ass up. Leave him down there. At this point, I would rather have Brian Rocchio for the rest of the year
Yeah.
than fucking have Gabriel Arias, who has a worse hitting, batting average in Cleveland than Rocchio. I think he's batting like 180, and Rocchio is just over 200.
Yeah.
I would rather have the 200 hitter than the fucking 175 hitter.
And well, and you also got to think. I really do think when it comes down to it, I think Rocchio compared to Arias is probably a little bit better on the defensive
A
side of the
lot
ball
better
as
on
well.
defensively.
So like bringing up Arias doesn't make any sense. And like again, if you're gonna replace Brian Rocchio with anything or anyone, you're just inserting Schneemann as your starting shortstop, or you're putting Jimenez over there and putting Schneemann at second.
Well,
Like
I think the other thing I'm worried about is they're going to bring down Schneeman and just bring up Arias, and you have Arias and Rocchio back again together.
and we don't want
And
that. I don't think there's a single fan that wants that.
no, and the
Nobody is
thing
screaming
is,
for that.
I think if the fans figured out where the Dolans lived, they would break all their windows and be like, "Why the fuck do you keep giving us Gabriel Arias? Like, we will personally put him in a car and take him back to Columbus and tell him to
Yeah.
fucking stay there." Like, nobody wants his ass up here. I would rather you DH Josh Naylor for the rest of the season so you can put Manzardo at first because he's 10 times better. And I'd rather have that than, oh, bro, you were bringing back Gabriel Arias. He's been playing well in AAA. I don't give a shit. I don't.
Yeah.
Give me Kyle Manzardo and just leave it at that.
Yeah, just leave it at that. Call it a day. Like there's no nothing else to really discuss there. Like if you're trying to think about bringing Arias up, I don't know what you're thinking there, and it just doesn't make sense. So hopefully
No.
that's not the case. I honestly hope he's just hurt. Honestly, like I know that's kind of screwed up to say, but like I would rather him being like, oh he like tweaked a hammy or something. It's like okay, keep him down there because he that's where he's gonna thrive the best. I mean, I know he's done well down there, but that's as far as he goes. When it comes to being up here, it's just a different world, and um, we just don't need that. We really
Looking
don't.
looking at Arias' last 5 games in Cleveland, his last game being July 10th, so
Hmm.
literally a full month. Um, he had 2 at bats against San Francisco in the fifth, struck out. Yeah, he struck out and then grounded into a double play. The game before that had 4 at-bats, struck out every single at-bat. And then he was a pinch hitter against Chicago, and he flew out twice. And then he played against Kansas City, again struck out the only time he was at bat. Why the hell do we want that?
We don't. I mean,
That's just shit we don't want. And of course, if you look at his AAA numbers, they're like somehow like absolutely like phenomenal. Like even like in his last 7 games in AAA, I'm wondering if this is his AAA or the okay, this is just AAA. In his last 7 games in AAA, this dude is batting .063 with 7 strikeouts and 1 walk and one
yeah,
hit and 16 at bats. Last 15, but it's funny because if you go to his last 15 games, he has 10 hits, 15 strikeouts, and he's batting .265.
yeah.
But looking at his last 7, big old time slump. But hey, they're like, well, he's batting currently right now. If you look at what he's doing in 2024, he's batting like a 275, batting like a um. Let's see what his actual like batting average is in the minors. Yeah, he's just batting 275 this year right now. So I don't know. It's starting to get too much.
Yeah. I'd rather bring up Manzardo 100 times over than deal with that. So yeah, hopefully that does not happen. But I actually want to kind of move over
Mm-hmm.
from Guardians talk and move over to Browns talk because obviously we had the game last Saturday. Not really a lot to talk about, and not really a lot of important people started. But for guys like DTR, he looked great. It was nice to see him throw the ball run. He looks like he's a lot more comfortable in year 2, but not really a whole lot to discuss. I'm not even going to worry about that because it wasn't really much to take out of that game. But the Browns have been having joint practices with the Vikings this week, and lots of stuff going on between people getting injured. We have a Mike Hall random arrest that he had earlier this week. We have a JOK extension. Lots of different highlights of highs and lows. Like there's just been a lot of stuff going on. But I think to highlight the big one obviously is JOK's deal. You get him for cheaper than Patrick Queen, and he's here for 3 years, locked down, just like Grant is, and just like all of the other, young core guys that we have. Um, and again, I think it just proves that this team, it's kind of putting themselves in a 3 year window. We're saying, hey, 3 years, let's see what we can do within this 3 years with this group. And, there's going to be more guys added to that. Like Emerson is 1000% going to get a deal after this year, more than likely. Guys like Jerome Ford, Wills, and stuff could be there as well. There's still going to be plenty of guys that are going to get deals, but JOK getting locked up for another 3 years is very, very good. So what do you think about that? What do you think about just kind of what the Browns have been doing overall with the past year? Just they're really keeping these core guys locked down for at least the next 2 or 3 years. That seems to be AB's bread and butter, 3 years, and then give them whatever money they want.
I mean, I think it's the right thing to do because it gives you contract control, and you're not spending a ton of money to lock them up for long-term deals. You don't need to sit there and do what some of these other teams did, say like, oh, we're gonna give you like 6.5, we're gonna give you like 6 years, and blow up the bank for you, and then we're just gonna have to rely on the draft to get everyone else to build around you. The Guardians are spreading the, or not the Guardians, sorry, the Browns are spreading the wealth.
Yeah,
um, and what's helpful too is that a lot of these guys' contracts have guaranteed restructures, like Deshaun's contract and Joe Bitonio's contract, and a lot of these guys' contracts you can just restructure, get some money, and then
yeah,
pay other people.
yeah.
You know, and you're guaranteeing yourself safety by these short term contracts.
Oh yeah.
So 3 years is enough evaluation time, especially for a guy like JOK. 3 years is enough evaluation to be like, okay, this kid's actually still a stud. We'll give you another 3 years. I'd rather continue to give them 3 years because number one, it gives them security that they're getting paid and they don't lock themselves out and do what Jamar Chase is doing down in Cincinnati. It guarantees you that they're gonna be like, shit, I only got 3 years. I need to work harder and harder and harder. So they're gonna work even more. And again, it's just Andrew Barry and the number three essentially. Last point, Andrew Barry is doing what he can to save the cap because again, these guys are willing to, now that the team is actually built like this, the team or the players are willing to take smaller deals to keep this core together. Same thing with Amari Cooper. Amari Cooper is okay with a 1 year, a little bit more money because it guarantees him safety for in case if he gets hurt or anything. And it guarantees him another decent contract the next couple of years if he wants to retire here. So, but the Browns are telling him, listen, we can't give you much more because again, we're against the cap here, and the cap continues to go up every year, so it allows us to pay you a little bit more each year instead of saying, hey, here's 3, 4 more years, or yeah, here's about 3 more years and double what we're paying you now. Now we're broke. We can't sign JOK. We can't extend some of these other guys. We can't extend Delpit. We can't extend some of these guys. So it guarantees you that you're keeping money. It guarantees you that you can restructure and resign other people. And it reassures you that you can just keep this core together. So it's Andrew Barry just working some goddamn magic like he always does. And he is keeping this core together by smaller deals, restructures, and saying, listen, the more we keep this team together, the better we have a chance of winning the Super Bowl. Because you don't see teams winning the Super Bowl by changing every single year, by getting new people in and out. Look what the Patriots dynasty did.
Oh yeah.
They kept everybody every single year, and each and every single one of those people took less money to keep everyone around, and they go on to win a Super Bowl pretty much every single year in the Brady era.
Yeah.
And that's literally like if you look at the Brady era, none of the players really changed except for maybe one or two people.
Yeah.
And none of the staff changes, none of the players change. Everything's the exact same.
Yep.
And I think Andrew Barry has that mindset with this team saying, listen, we're going to stay the exact same as long as you guys are willing to take smaller money and whatnot. It keeps upping our chances of getting to the Super Bowl and
Yeah.
potentially winning a Super Bowl.
Yeah, and again, when you can keep your core guys and then continue to
Mm-hmm.
build on, say, the parts that weren't necessarily the strongest, like, when you go from getting a guy like Walker to Jordan Hicks, that's an
Mm-hmm.
upgrade. When you go from, you know, not having a guy like Za'Darius, having a Clowney who can only play half the games, to Za'Darius, who really didn't miss a lot of games last year and played very well for us, especially
Yeah.
against the run. He was not really a pass rush machine for us,
Mm-hmm.
but against the run, he was a tank. It's making the right moves
Yeah.
to improve the team, but not detrimentally change the team and change the
Mm-hmm.
culture. And I think between doing that and also just the staff, which is going to go into my next point with the whole Jameis, mic'd up from Saturday. Not only was that fun, but between hearing just what he had to say in that, and then also hearing him on Pat McAfee's show today, he was talking a lot about leadership and about how this
Mm-hmm.
team has some of the best leadership that he's ever been a part of, and he's been a part of a few teams now, and he just understands how well this staff is built. And once again, and we've said this before, we've said, this staff is built really, really well.
Yeah.
And it's just a testament to what guys like Stefanski and AB have done. Kudos to Stefanski for not letting ego get in the way of him adding legitimate people to his staff that can give him the tools that he needs. You know, it's not every day that you're going to see a head, a head coach as one head coach of the year for 2 out of his first 4 seasons. Get another guy like a Jim Schwartz, and bring in a guy like Ken Dorsey, and bring in a guy like Mike Vrabel to not even be necessarily a coach, but to just give him the wisdom and give him more feedback that he needs, and then having to mix that with his own experience, and then having a like, dude, it's what a difference the last few years have really made for this team, and the change culturally. And honestly, you could probably even throw it back to the Jarvis days. I mean, I think that's where it really started, at least in terms of of the players, but was having a guy like Jarvis get up there
Mhm.
and being like, hey, like, we have to take this stuff seriously. We have to be professionals. I don't care if you're kind of hurt. You're gonna practice. You're gonna play. You're gonna play for this team, and really take pride in that. And obviously, you don't want guys to play hurt, or get hurt, but it's just the culture change, man. It's beautiful. It's so sick to watch, and now you're seeing the highlights of these joint practices against the Vikes. And I know the Vikings, they're not really necessarily built well right now. They're going through sort of a rebuild. JJ just got hurt. A lot of shit's going wrong. But
Mm.
seeing guys like Martin Emerson lock up Jay Jetta, that's unheard of for us as Browns fans to hear stuff like that. The best wide receiver not totally cooking some of our better corners. Seeing Miles continue to just dominate the way he does. Seeing Jerry Judy even today. There was a clip of him. He absolutely juked this kid out
Yeah.
for the Vikings. I mean, he literally did a double move, went out in, and by the time he went out, the dude already was starting to fall. Um, what a nasty duo that could be too, with him and Coop, and even Elijah Moore just being a nasty route running trio.
Mm.
Mm, Putting that in Watson's hands, as long as he takes care of the ball, his offense has just so much. They have so much capability, man. They have so much potential.
Yeah, and like you said, like with the way Jerry Judy ran routes today and putting people on their asses and making insanely good plays, and again, you just have the speed of Elijah Moore, and you just have the veteran leadership, and again, the amazing route running skills of Amari Cooper. This is an offense that's built to score and almost essentially score at will. Like if you can get Deshaun Watson to be half of the player he was at Houston, and this offensive line stay healthy, this offense could easily be a top five offense. Jerome Ford is not a horrible back at all. I think he's a solid back. He's a decent pass catching back as well. And even if you don't put him as a pass catching back, you still have Deontay Foreman. You still have Naeem Hines. Like you still have great backs behind him,
Yeah.
and then you get Nick Chubb back in the middle of the season, which is even better news. So, and when he gets back, it's just game over for everyone. It's game over for the league. And what I like about having the three core wide receivers, what it does is it opens the entire middle of the field for easy dump offs for David Njoku. So when Deshaun doesn't see anything downfield, boop, right over the line of scrimmage into David Njoku, and Njoku's got 15 yards almost guaranteed. And the way that I love how Ken Dorsey got his hands all over the playbook. I love that. I know Kevin Stefanski is calling the plays, but again, the plays, a lot of them are Dorsey's mixed in with Stefanski's.
Yeah.
They worked on it together, which is good. So it's not just a Stefanski playbook; it is a Ken Dorsey slash Stefanski playbook. I like how Vrabel, even though he's a coaching consultant and a
He
player
definitely has his
assist,
handprint on the team for sure.
has his handprint on the team, and I'm sure him and Jim Schwartz are cooking together, and they
Hmm.
cooked up that playbook together, the defensive playbook. Like this team is built to win now, and this team is, as long as we have just at this point, as long as we just have good QB play, we're competitive with every single team in the league, and we're competitive with the Chiefs. We're competitive, with the 49ers. We beat the 49ers with an XFL quarterback.
Yeah.
So it shows you that we are capable of winning games. And again, it's just a knock on wood where you pray to God that everyone stays healthy. We know that Denzel went out with another concussion, his 15th one in his career, essentially. Because I don't know how many he has, because I've had two myself.
It's at
So,
least 5 from what I understand. Yeah.
yeah. So you pray to God that he's going to be okay. He should be wearing those soft helmets on, so that way he
Yeah.
stops getting concussions. I'm sure you'll see him wearing those from now on, so he won't get hurt.
Mm-hmm.
But like you said, going to Martin Emerson, even if Denzel goes down, Martin Emerson is going to be an amazing number one corner. And you could tell this kid from the jump when he first got action in the Browns, he was.
Oh yeah.
You could tell this kid was going to be some kind of elite corner, and him locking up Jay Jettas all day was a masterpiece. It was
Yeah.
the best thing, and you can see Jay Jettas completely frustrated. Like this kid's in his second, third year in the league, and he is destroying me right now. And I should be cooking this kid,
Yeah.
and he is killing me. And you still have Greg Newsom behind that.
Yeah.
That's insanity, and that just shows you the prowess of Andrew Barry and just keeping guys around and just finding hidden talent and hidden gems.
Yeah.
Like this dude cooked on NCAA, I'm sure. Like
Oh
it,
yeah.
like Andrew Barry is one of those guys that's like, oh, I cook up gems all the fucking time in
Yeah.
NCAA 25. Like
Yeah.
that's all my leaderboard is, just gem after gem after gem after gem. Because I know what I see.
Right.
I'm a gem master, and
Exactly.
he drafts them. And mind you, these guys aren't even first round picks.
Yeah.
Martin Emerson is a second round pick. Some of these guys are third round picks. Greg Newsom, a second round pick.
Yeah.
Like these guys are second, third, fourth, fifth round. DeJuan Jones, we got how long in the draft? Like sixth?
Yeah.
And he could be easily one of the better offensive tackles in the league.
Yeah.
Like if Andrew Barry's smoking something, I want a lot of it because apparently it
Mm.
makes you super fucking intelligent in the football mind. Because
Literally.
holy shit, has he just been cooking like the last couple of years? And could you imagine now that he has a first round pick and what he's gonna do with that first round pick?
Oh yeah, like that's the beauty of it is we finally are gonna have a first round pick after after this year, and that's why like I wasn't too worried about the Ayuk stuff
Yeah.
because whether or not it happens is fine. We still have a great core of receivers, especially because I think Tillman is gonna make the next step. I think he's gonna
Mm-hmm.
play better this year. We've seen what Bell can offer, and he could still improve as well. Uh, Thrash looked pretty good in the preseason game as well. So again, like
Yeah.
there's different guys that are starting to step up. There's even undrafted guys that look good. So like there's just not an overly amount of concern there. I get for depth you want as much as you can. But Coop, Jerry Judy, and Elijah Moore is a good enough three-headed monster for us,
With
especially
David
once you.
Njoku.
Yes, and the thing that we always keep forgetting about is Nick Chubb is going to come back eventually, whether
Mm-hmm.
it be week 1 or week 10. It really doesn't matter. That kid is going to come back, and he's going to only improve this offense, and it's going to take a load off of them. It's going to take a load off of Watson to be able to bring him back. And also, it's going to take a load off of Nick Chubb because he's not going to get as much carries as he has in the past. He's not going to be a 30 carry back like, Derrick Henry is probably going to be this year. I guarantee that dude is going to have 20 plus carries every game because that's the Ravens and how they work.
Yeah.
So, it's this team is still built just fine. I think a lot of the um, opportunity just depends on what Watson can put on the field, and I think that's what everybody's still worried about. I understand that. I understand he had some tough throws this week, but he also had some great throws this week against the Vikings. And like again, he's still technically in his rehab process. I know he's been sort of cleared for contact, so he's going to be ready for week 1. And he's going to throw a little bit against Seattle in the last preseason game. It's probably going to be probably a series or two max, whatever Stefanski wants to do. Um, but he also doesn't have the best line right now with not having Jed and then not having the likes of either Conklin or Dewan. I mean, I don't know who's hurt and who's not, but um, you know you might need Wills a little bit more than we thought we did from last year because we all banged on him so much, but when you go from him to going to Hudson, it's like night and day difference. Like it's pretty bad, and we'll see how it goes. I mean, I know Weipler went down in the preseason game. That was one of the lows. But you trade for a guy like Nick Harris, so you bring somebody that already knows the game for us. He can be our guy that could be the backup, or he could be that sort of fullback position for us again. It's gonna be just fine for there. I think the really only major concerns right now are just these little nagging injuries going on. I saw Coop came up a little, gingerly. I know Chief did as well a little bit, but Zedarius returned, and obviously the whole Mike Hall arrest is gonna be interesting to
Yeah.
see it sort of unfold. Like, what do you think is gonna go on? Like, why do these defensive tackles for us keep getting into dumb fights with girls and getting arrested, or like why is it always a domestic dispute with these defensive tackles? Because every year we get one, and it's starting to annoy me, especially because my Michael Hall is so talented and he has so much potential, and he's gonna ruin it.
To be honest, I don't know what it is, especially with these defensive tackles. But this whole Michael Hall situation, like if you haven't read it at all, it's wild what you read and what he did. And obviously, I'm not gonna say anything and go into details about it because again, that's for the courts to decide what goes on, and what that's for whoever and whatever. I do think the Browns were definitely in the wrong to let him practice, and I think at that point it was just karma that he got injured. Um, but I have no idea. Like you would think, especially when you're a rookie and you get drafted to the NFL, and a team is willing to give you the biggest chance in your entire life and spend millions of dollars on you,
Yeah,
you think you wouldn't do something so fucking dumb, and you would actually just be a normal, decent human being, and just be like, man, I'm blessed because I'm playing in the NFL when I could be working a boring ass office job all day.
yeah,
And here I am. I'm making millions of dollars playing the game that I loved playing as a kid, grew up playing as a child, and I am living my dream and everyone else's dream. And I'm just gonna ruin it because a girl made me mad. Like, why? Do you have to be so fucking dumb? Like, just play football. Like, how hard is it to just go and just play football? That's all you
it
have to
makes no
do.
sense. It
It
makes no
makes
sense.
no sense. Like, and that's just not even for Michael Hall. That's for everyone in the league. Like, you can't just not do something dumb for 5 fucking minutes.
Yeah.
Like, I
How
get
about
it.
it's like how about stop putting hands on women, on children, stop being creeps to women or children, stop getting drunk and going 150 miles an hour and
You're,
hitting somebody or getting a
yeah.
DUI. Like, dude, you have the world by the ass when you are in the NFL. You have
Mhm.
everything that you need. You have millions of dollars lined up for you, especially if you don't fuck it up
Endorsements and shit.
and you fuck it up, and then your whole life is ruined. Like,
It takes,
dude,
all it takes is just one, even just one tiny incident, and your whole world is over in a heartbeat.
yeah,
Now, there are some unfair situations, like Colin Kaepernick was kind of an unfair situation where he was kind of just banished from the league for just taking a small kneel. Like that's not fair for a guy like Colin Kaepernick, but that's obviously a different discussion for a different day. But for guys like that, then it's unfair because they didn't even do anything wrong and they got banished from the league forever. Like Josh Gordon got banished from the NFL for just smoking weed.
yeah.
Like
Just
again,
being a
so,
druggie. That's all it was.
and the thing is, now it's legal in the NFL, and it's like, of course, it's legal after Josh Gordon gets
Right.
bounced out of the league, and he's probably fucking kicking rocks right now, pissed off. Like,
Yeah.
Like, oh, now it's legal. Like I
Yeah.
guarantee you, like 95% of the league smokes weed, and he just was the one that got caught the most.
Yeah. Well, and
But
like, because I mean, I even think Calvin Johnson said he did back in the day. And like,
yeah,
fun fact, Johnson owns his own medical marijuana dispensaries and own
hmm,
like marijuana strains. So the guy's heavily involved, especially in the Detroit area. So like,
yeah,
and basketball players 100% smoke. There's been countless stories about that. Even old NFL players you used to do coke and shit. Like
yeah.
the cocaine cowboy himself, Michael Irving. You had fucking Bruce Smith, all those guys. Uh, you know, uh, fucking Taylor. The dude literally would do coke before he would, go, you'll go play and just tear it up. Like times have changed, and like I'm not endorsing the drug thing, but there's a
No, no,
lot
no.
worse problems in the league
Then
than just somebody having some sort of addiction, or trying to smoke weed when they're off the field and they're not worried about it, or even if they play better when they're high. It's not like it necessarily like enhances anything.
no.
I don't know. There's a lot worse problems. There's a lot more behavioral problems. We need to teach these young kids that get handed millions and millions of dollars in endorsements and contracts to be responsible and be respectable, and show honor in yourself, and the fact that you are in a position that so many people would die for. Literally, so many people would beg on their knees for an opportunity, just an opportunity to even
Hard,
get a quarter of what you got.
yeah. Hardly 1% of people get to play professional sports.
Yeah,
Hardly 1%. And you're a part of that 1% that gets to be so lucky to play in the NFL, and you're literally just going to ruin it for no fucking reason because you want to go hit a girl and put your hands on her because she
stupid.
told you something that you didn't want to hear, and then you just go and beat her up or whatever. And it's like, why? Like, it's the same situation we dealt with Perry on Winfrey. Perry on Winfrey did the same thing. He had a lot of potential, a lot of talent, ruined it by hitting a girl. Like, it takes 2 seconds to, and I've said this before to a lot of people, it takes 2 seconds not to do something dumb. 2 seconds to not, like, all you gotta do is be like, oh shit, that's kind of dumb. I probably shouldn't do that.
Yeah.
Don't do it. Like, what goes across your brain saying it's gonna be okay? I am now rich. I am a millionaire, and I'm an NFL player. I could beat the shit out of this woman. And I mean, don't get me wrong, he got bailed out for 10 grand, but it it's only gonna make him want to do it again because he got away with it for 10 G's last time. And now I'm sure Kevin Stefanski and Andrew Barry like grabbed him by the shirt and pinned him to the wall and said, "Listen, motherfucker, if you do this again, I will take your it and rip it off."
Right?
Like,
Oh
do
my
you really
god.
want to do that shit right now?
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
do you really want to do that shit right now? Like, I will do. Like, if I'm Andrew Barry, like, I am literally like, even though Andrew Barry probably wouldn't be able to do this because Michael Hall is a huge ass fucking human being, but like, I'd grab him by the shirt, lift him up, like, pin him into the wall like a fucking 80s movie, and be like, do you really want to get your ass beat right now? Like, do as you're fucking told, go home, be happy you're in the NFL, come back to practice, work your ass off, and just repeat. Go home, be a good boy, and get your ass back here on practice on time. Otherwise, we will make sure you never see the light of day ever fucking again.
Yeah.
And you will never be heard of from again, and your ass will be working at a grocery store for the rest of your fucking life.
Yep. Yeah.
So
Or
it's either the NFL or being a grocery store bagger for
yeah.
the rest of your life.
Or trying to do what you may have graduated with, if you did graduate, because so some guys in the league don't necessarily
Yeah.
graduate until a few years after they've been in the league because they go back to part time, which those guys are smart. And but I think the average span of players that do make it into the league is only like 2 or 3 years. It's not
Mm-hmm.
long. So you're not even guaranteed anything if you even get drafted. So to even get drafted and be on a practice squad is a blessing in itself, because you're making like 800K sitting on a practice squad. You're not even able to play in the games, um, unless you get picked up or you get moved up. And
Well,
It's so sad to see these guys do this shit.
a lot of those guys, they will finish their degree online. Like whatever university they went to, like whether it's like Ohio State, they'll go to online schooling for Ohio State and finish out their degree or something. So and like when they're on the road, they'll do like homework and shit on the road and on the plane and on the bus or on the hotel. Like so that's another thing. Like you'll see guys like Larry Fitzgerald. Larry Fitzgerald finished his degree while he was playing for the Cardinals.
Yeah.
Like he literally said, "Oh, while I was playing with the Cardinals, I was doing online courses and online school. Like, and I graduated. He graduated with his bachelor's degree while playing for the Cardinals and pretty much damn near winning a Super Bowl at the same time.
Right.
And like you said, a lot of these guys maybe got 2 to 3 years at best in the NFL. So you might as well make it count, and you might as well go and get that degree while you have the opportunity to. Because once you're out of the league, you have at least you got something to fall back on.
Yeah. And you know, even if you know, I know if you get a certain bit of time in like in the league, you're always going to have some sort of help from them. But like you're
Mm-hmm.
just sort of doctored into their sort of vet, you know,
Mm-hmm.
deals in the things that they have. So it's like even if you only do spend a few years and then you go back to school, guess what? You made millions of dollars to save up to go back to school where you don't have to worry about paying back loans and doing dumb shit. You can just pay it as you go, and
Yeah.
that's the beauty of it. So like again, you know, unfortunately for guys like Mike Hall, you know, he needs to work on his emotional stability and really take a step back from football. I know he has that sort of neck stinger. I think it's just a poor, you know, excuse for them to just say, hey, go ahead and take some time away from the team
Mm-hmm.
and get your legal stuff put out. And once that's done, then we will make a decision on whether or not we are wanting to discipline you. And I hope they do at some point just to just like, hey, don't fucking do this again. You know, you get one shot and that's it. But I think that's the only negative about AAB is sometimes he will take these chances on these guys, have troubled pass or you know trouble with certain things like
Mm-hmm.
that because they're so goddamn talented that he can't help it. So um, that's the only thing that stinks about AB is he does like to take changes on people, and you know the fortunate thing and the reason why it's not necessarily the worst thing all the time is simply just because we have again a good staff to really develop these players and
Yeah.
really put them in a position if they want it, if they truly want it, they will get all of the necessary things that they need, all the help they need, all the resources, whatever, they will get it all. You know, so that's the benefit of that, and that's why that's the double-edged sword. Sometimes you have to take a risk on somebody despite their past or despite what they are known for to see if they can break that as humans because it's possible. But again, when you give a young kid millions and millions of dollars, it's hard for them to not build an ego and not be stupid with it. And I think that's just what happened. And I hope that the kid learns. I hope he doesn't get super punished, but it definitely could have been worse. But it's still no, excuse. You can't be doing that shit. You can't be doing that shit around a kid. You can't be doing it around you know, a woman. You can't be pointing a gun at your girl. Like that alone was just like, okay,
It's
this is enough.
horrible.
It's horrible, you know. And I'm glad nobody actually got hurt, like got killed or anything like that. But it's still rough, and it's not a really good thing for us, especially with the Watson saga that we've had, and many others. We've had Kareem here. We've had some troubled guys here before. So it's like just one of those things that's the only thing that really sucks about being a Browns fan. It seems like some of these guys are here. So, but really, that's kind of all that I got today. I don't know if you really have anything else to add, but you know, next preseason game is coming up. We only got two more left, and then week one starts. I think at the first week of September.
September
Uh,
8th is the first game.
Eighth.
So we go this weekend against the Vikings on the 17th. The next weekend we play Seattle in Seattle, which is a 10 p.m. game. Then we have the weekend, the next week off because that's obviously the 31st. And then that next Sunday after the 31st, the 8th is day one or week one against the Cowboys.
And I'm pretty sure that the 31st is the first Ohio State game, I
The 30
believe.
the 31st is the first Ohio State game. Actually, that's a good thing to look up
Let's
because
see.
we can talk
I'm
about
pretty
that.
sure it's the 31st because it's always the first week before
Yep.
the NFL. So
Yep.
it's yeah.
So we do have So we still have football that week. Just won't be talking about the Browns. We'll be talking about Ohio State.
which will be fun because Ohio State's going to be absolutely disgusting. They're obviously really good in NCAA football. NCAA football, so it's
Mhm.
going to be fun to see the running back duo, the wide receivers that we have. Seeing a talented quarterback that we have, and even guys behind him that are young and are going to
Hey,
be
really good.
talented
Yeah.
once he's gone as well. Because I mean, he's a fifth year senior, I think, from Kansas State. So this team has a lot of talent, and uh, I'll leave my 2 cents for that episode, but there's a few people, specifically one that I think you and I both have the same thought here of who really needs to prove themselves in that on that team per se, because he's given all the talent. You better fucking go get it. So yeah, we'll probably talk more about guards and obviously Browns. And then we might even prep for the Ohio State game, depending on when the stuff falls and all that stuff. So Andrew, you got anything else before we get off today, man?
No, man. All I gotta say is go Guards, go Browns, and go Buckeyes.
Absolutely. And remember, guys, we are just BSing around here, and don't forget it. See you guys next week.